So I'll try my very best to summarize this lecture in about 10 minutes. Um, we've, so first, this thing I'll be quoting is from Srila Prabhupada Leelamrit. It's from volume 5. And there is a chapter in that book, Battle for Bombay. I actually thought which better book to go through than Prabhupada's Leelamrit. So that's why I got just a couple of points. We know about all the struggles that Srila Prabhupada had to go through. But I was just looking into some teachings that we can get from all that he's done. So we all know that 500 years ago, we had six Goswamis who had their own deities, and then they established it and they built their temples and installed the deities over there. But Prabhupada, he was empowered to install and maintain many deities. Like if you see, even in this Western country, in America, if you see, we have the headquarters is Rukmani Dwarkadhish in Los Angeles. It's completed at least 51 years of installation, if I'm not wrong. And then in New York, Prabhupada installed and established the temple of Radha Govinda. Then in Dallas, it was Kala Chanji. Please correct me if I'm wrong. It's a very big deity. And then he went on and on. Like in London, there is Sri Radha Landeshwar, and in Mayapur, Radha Madhav Haribol. In Australia, Radha Gopinath, and so on and so forth. It just kept on going and going and going. So, how many temples he has established is one of the point. But it is very easy for a person to see it from the outside world that, okay, he's established temples, what a big deal. But the core is how much struggle Srila Prabhupada had to go through in establishing and building every temple. One couple of struggles that I could actually read about and hear about were there is a temple in Canada, Toronto. It's called as Kheer Chor Temple. So that temple required a sum of about $600,000, which we did not have, like Prabhupada did not have. And all the money that he had was $300,000 max. And there were many devotees who were suggesting, Prabhupada, we cannot build this temple like with the amount of money we require. Prabhupada just like put his fist down on a temple and said, "We are going to do it no matter what." And one Prabhuji said, "Prabhupada, it's going to be a struggle to reach more $300,000." And Prabhupada said, "Bhakti is struggle. Bhakti is anxiety. Bhakti does not come that easy. If you come in bhakti, seeing, oh, after coming in bhakti, you are going to be all cool and all calm, and there will be no tension, no frustration, no anxiety. So you are on a wrong path. Bhakti comes with struggle, it comes with anxiety." He also gave an example saying when you do the manthan, Samudra manthan, the first thing that comes out is wish. Um, and then later on comes is nectar, amrit. So in bhakti, the first step is going to be struggle. There is going to be anxiety. There is going to be anxiousness. So this is what we can learn from his struggle. And he's not struggled any less. He had to struggle so much with the Bombay temple also, Radha Ras Bihari temple, and there are other temples for Delhi also. He also struggled with a lot of people saying not very good things about him and not saying not taking him the right way he should be, but he kept on going. That's what he is shown through his struggle of life. There was one Prabhu who came to Srila Prabhupada and he said, "Prabhu, बहुत तकलीफ है जीवन में, बहुत संकट है. I am struggling, मुझसे नहीं हो रहा." And Prabhupada just asked him a one small question. Are you struggling like Prahlad Maharaj? Are you having problems like Prahlad Maharaj? Are you thrown in a fire? Are you thrown in a stampede of mad elephants? Are you there with scorpions and snakes? And then he had answer was like, no, obviously not. And that's how you understand how much struggles the bhakts have to go to. Prahlad Maharaj is an example. One of the very good examples that I read about was also Garud Dev. He went through so many problems. Once I heard it. I did not read it anywhere. I heard it in a lecture by Amrendra Prabhu where he was saying, um, Lakshman, Lakshmanji asked the Garudev, you could have, like, why did you fight with Ravana? He has 10 heads, you have none. He has a chariot, you have none. He has weapons, you have none. He has two hands, you have two wings. You are 60,000 years old. You could have just flown to us, told where Sita Ma was, and you could be fine. And then Garudev said, that's not what I wanted to do, just to go there and tell you. I wanted to give my life. I wanted to give my wings for Sri Ram. And that's how I didn't go to Ram. Ram came to me. So we generally get scared of getting into bhakti because of the struggles that we might have to face. But the end result is optimum. You get Krishna, you get Ram. The actual result is that big. So that struggles should not be that important in front of your eyes. Is that something that we can learn by Prabhupada's struggle? And there was also, I don't remember the name of the um, some Guru Maharaj, I'm so sorry. He also said this thing that we have so many dhongi sadhus selling fish in the market and people buying it, but we have Prabhupada who is selling diamonds in the market without any compromise. So he is the best charity done by Krishna for the people in Kali Yuga. He is the best thing that has happened for all the people in Kali Yuga. He's shown us the way. There is this when we sing Guru Aarti, 8:30 in the morning. It says, Aha Prabhu Koro Daya, Deho Mora Pad Chaya. That means he's already given you the Pad Chaya. Now it is our responsibility and our way of how we follow it. So it's like we are quite a lot spoon fed kids, but we still find it difficult. We have to look up to the struggles that Srila Prabhupada had to go to do whatever we have right now. There is also deity worship, which is one of the very, very prominent thing that Prabhupada has taught us. Like there are five things: Sadhu Sangha, Nama Kirtan, Bhagavad Shravan, Mathuravas, Shri Murtir, Shraddha Sevan. So that is Shri Murti Shraddha Sevan is worshipping the deity. And Srila Prabhupada did such a big job for us. Like he has so many temples throughout the world. Every country has ISKCON temple. So it is our duty to take this Krishna consciousness ahead. Like one more thing that I heard was Prabhupada did so much for our community. And then there is so many of his disciples who are at the age of 70s now, 60s now, and who are still doing so much for Krishna consciousness. And what are we doing? That also really struck me very nicely. It's a very good point of how much our Guru Maharaj are doing and what are we doing. There is also one more instance which I heard where Britishers would say how uncultured we are Indians and how our deities look. After, this was their reaction after seeing the Rath Yatra. How our deities look, they don't have proper shapes of the body and whatnot. But now, due to Prabhupada's mercy, we have temples all over the world. We have Sri Radha Landaneshwar, which is also a good example of how much struggle and work Prabhupada has put into. And we are where we are now because of Prabhupada's struggle and work. Um, that's all. There is a lot more in this lecture. I would really share this lecture in this group. It is something we should hear, and there are many, many stories in this lecture also about all the temples that I just spoke about. I would share it in the group, and I would not take much time because I have 10 minutes. And I would ask somebody else to please give their inputs. And please forgive me if I've said anything wrong, if I've said any word wrong, if I've given any misinformation. Please forgive me. I have just heard a couple of lectures from Amrendra Prabhu and read one page, actually, literally one page from Srila Prabhupada Leelamrit. That's it. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna, Mati, thank you so much. Very nice. Very nicely shared. Actually, I was reminded by this pastime which you were sharing of Srila Prabhupada about the Canada temple. So this is a beautiful pastime. So what happened once, Prabhupada's disciple, they were telling Prabhupada about this temple at a very good location. So they said, Prabhupada, it's at a prime location. It's a church. They are selling it. And it is very good for preaching because it is the prime location. People will come, no problem. So Prabhupada said, okay, but very expensive. So I said, how much? So he said something like 600K or something, whatever. So Prabhupada himself, he said, yeah, that's too much. That's too much. No point in taking so much anxiety. You have to get money. It's too much. And what kind of location it is? So like just prime location on the corner of the street, just main downtown. Prabhupada said, okay, too much, but too expensive. And then one time later, Prabhupada happened to visit that place. So then again, he down from the plane, and then they were talking. And then Prabhupada asked about how is everything going. He said, okay. Then again, this topic came about this building still available. So said, Prabhupada, would you like to see? Prabhupada said, sure. So Prabhupada went there, they saw the whole building, and they came back. The Prabhupada said, very expensive. No point, too much anxiety. Then next day, Prabhupada called. Prabhupada asked how much money they have. They probably have like something like 750K or something. It's not 750, 75K or something. I don't exactly remember the details, but something like that. And then Prabhupada said, okay. And then he called his secretary. He asked, maybe we'll give them a loan for 200K or something. And then they'll have to return it after some time back to the BPT, which is the Bhakti Vedanta Book Trust, which is how all the temples or everything in ISKCON has happened by book distribution. So sometimes people were saying, okay, Prabhupada, can we do some other business like selling gold, some other thing, putting money in stock market or other places? Prabhupada, why? So that we can get money and then we can make. Prabhupada, no, we don't have to engage in these things. The only business we have is book distribution. So that is how Prabhupada trained his disciples. In the past, disciples used to go out and do begging for Krishna. Now, in this day and age, beggars are not considered very, acceptable for the society. So Prabhupada really has this unique way. This is such a beautiful way where it is begging, but it is not begging. Where you are actually humbling yourself, all the good qualities of begging. Why one has to beg? Why Brahman has to end? To cut the pride. One has to cut down the pride. One has to be very humble. One has to go in very simple way. One has to depend on Krishna. All these things are happening when you go for book distribution. But still you are not begging. You're actually giving them books. You're giving them Krishna's mercy. So the beauty of book distribution. And the BPT had the money by all these book distribution things, and then Prabhupada said we'll give them, and then Prabhupada said, okay, we'll give them, and then you can ask them to give it for 300K or something. Some Prabhupada was very good in negotiation. So he told, so then the disciple said, but Prabhupada said, but Prabhupada, it'll be too much anxiety. Then Prabhupada was, there must be anxiety. There must be anxiety. If there's no anxiety, then we'll just sit and eat and sense gratification, nothing. So we have to take anxiety for Krishna. So like that, Prabhupada was seeing both the sides of every situation. Sometimes devotees could feel that they can predict what Prabhupada would have said or done in this situation. But Guru cannot be predicted. Krishna cannot be predicted. Whatever we think they would have done, they may come out with totally different opinion. So for a Kanishta to predict what an Uttam Adhikari would do is very neophyte and wrong perception. So one has to totally depend on Krishna and Guru and pray to them. In this particular day, any Vaishnava Acharya's appearance or disappearance, they are very, very merciful. So the more we can pray to them, the more we can take shelter of them. We can literally pray to Prabhupada. Not that we have to pray to Krishna. We can pray to Prabhupada. Prabhupada, you have done so much service. I am not able to do anything. I am really, really at your mercy. Please, please help me and guide me so that I can also serve Krishna. You've been serving Krishna throughout your existence in this planet when you're physically here, and even eternally. But I am not able to serve. I am just engaged in Maya's service. Please help me. So like that, when devotees pray to Guru, to Param Guru, then they get empowered to do impossible things. So that is Prabhupada's unique place in ISKCON, that Prabhupada, even though he is not directly initiating us, but he is actually the instructing guru for everybody in ISKCON. So anybody and everybody who is taking shelter of ISKCON, who is coming in association with devotees of ISKCON, they must hear Prabhupada's lecture, they must read Prabhupada's book. And any other disciple, grand disciple of Prabhupada, they may be saying things that is okay. We may like and connect to them, but ultimate authority has to be Prabhupada. So we have to take Prabhupada's book as the law books and understand how they are. And anybody else we are taking shelter of, we are actually taking help to understand Prabhupada's book, because we will not be able to understand Srila Prabhupada's book all by ourselves. We'll have some questions, we'll have some doubts, and that is where we can see the other devotees' lectures so nicely explaining Prabhupada's books. Okay, thank you very much, Raksha Mataji, for sharing. Who will go next?
I also actually, okay,
Rakshita
go ahead.
Mataji.
Jo bhi bol.
So
So
we'll
after
have,
if somebody sings, then I can raise.
yes, Mataji. So we'll have, let's see. Suresh Prabhu, you want to go next? Okay.
नहीं प्रभु जी माता जी को बोलने दीजिए.
So Rakshita Mataji, please you share first. Then we'll go to others. Or one second. Let me check. Let me check one thing. Anandi Radha Mataji, you want to share first? If you can share, that will be great. Anandi Radha Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Mataji, can you please share?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, sorry, I was not here. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. Anandi Radha Mataji, can you please share?
Prabhuji, I'm not ready.
You're not ready?
Talk afterwards.
Anandi, you want to share? Ask mommy if she wants to share. Can you ask her? Neelu Mataji, you want to say something?
Prabhuji, I didn't get time to read the lectures, but I was watching one video of Srila Prabhupada.
See, if somebody is
his-
ready, they can present today. If somebody is not ready, they can
disappearance.
present tomorrow. Because it is not necessary that everybody will be able to present today. So those who feel quite comfortable about presenting can present today. Other devotees who feel like I can do a better job tomorrow can present tomorrow, no problem.
So
Because we
Prabhuji,
want you.
I prepare one whatever Prabhupada ji said on his final day. So if
So
you
you want to
allow
share now?
me, yeah, if you allow me, I will share the exact wording he said.
Where did you obtain it from?
There was a video on YouTube, Prabhuji, where I saw all the full video where after the it was October 21st, 1977.
Mhm.
He was lying on the bed, and all the devotees were around him, and they were reading to him, and he was saying the final words.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay,
So
Mataji, please share.
okay, Prabhuji. I'm so scared, and to share this, because when I was watching that video and I was literally crying. I saw the whole video, until he left his body, and so I was so sad to watch that video. But that video touched me so much. So I wanted to share, but please forgive me. I'm nobody to say his words, but I'll share it. So on October 21st, 1977, um, Prabhupada said, if we engage in devotional service, we get a different nature, and we engage on the basis of sense gratification. The result is bad. And according to the association of different natures, we get a body. Karanam guna sango sya sad asad yoni janmasu. Therefore, we should always seek good association, devotee association. Then our life will be successful. If we live with good association, then we cultivate knowledge. That means association. A man is known by his company. So, if we have the chance of association with devotees, then our character, nature becomes better. By hearing, by discussing Srimad Bhagavatam, this Rajogun, Tamogun are subdued. Then Sattvagun remains. Nasta prayasu abdresu nityam bhagavata sevya. Bhagavata sevya. Then Rajogun, Tamogun cannot do us harm. Therefore, Varnashrama dharma is so essential that people live in Sattvagun. Tamogun, Rajogun increases lust and greediness, and that implicates the living entity who exists in this material world in many, many forms. That is very, very dangerous. Therefore, they should be brought into Sattvagun by the establishment of Varnashrama Dharma. How to bring people in Sattvagun with Brahminical qualifications. Very neat and clean, rise early in the morning, see Mangala Aarti, in this way to stay in Sattvagun. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Very nice. Thank you for
Thank you,
sharing.
Prabhuji.
That's so nice.
Later, Prabhuji, I want to, want to learn more about this, all the, whatever he said in deep meaning, because I know I didn't understand most of the, deep points in this one. So, yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Okay, very nice. So, Rakshita Mataji, you will go next.
I'll share tomorrow because I mean it will go a little longer. I think I
Yeah,
don't want
why
to
don't you share
extend
tomorrow?
after
Yes,
that.
that will be
Yes,
nice.
so I will share
That you'll
tomorrow.
have enough time. Okay. Anybody else would like to share today?
हाँ,
Suresh Prabhu.
मैं भी कल शेयर करूंगा प्रभु जी तुम्हारा
Okay, Suresh Prabhu also wants to share tomorrow.
हाँ कल के लिए प्रभु जी
Anybody else?
तो एटलीस्ट 20-25
Okay. Okay, that's fine. Nirbhay Prabhu? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Natasha Mataji. Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji. I can share. It was a little bit longer, but I'll share just for a few minutes until the class.
Sure.
So, Prabhuji, I was watching the ISKCON Dwarka's live feed today on Prabhupada's disappearance day. So many different devotees were talking, and ISKCON Dwarka's president, I've never heard him talk before, Pradyumna Priya Prabhu. Amoglila Prabhu often mentions him in his talks. He talked very nicely about Prabhupada and brought up some nice points that I never thought of. And then Amoglila Prabhu talked. So I have some points from their lectures.
Yes, please, Mataji.
So one of the things Pradyum Prabhu was saying is that he was drawing parallels between Damodar Leela and Prabhupada. So he said he was singing Damodar Ashtakam, looking at Yashoda Maya and Bal Gopal's picture, and he suddenly realized how Prabhupada did the same thing that Krishna did with Manigriva and Nal Kuvera. So how Krishna delivered those two Gandharvas that were, that had given into Maya completely and were not paying respects to the Guru, to Narad Muni. So how Krishna delivered them, and Prabhupada similarly delivered not only two Manigriva and Nalkuvera, but many Manigrivas. So he came to the West. He came to America. He saw what was the place where the Maya was highest, and he figured New York was the worst place, and Bowery Street in New York was the worst place for Maya, where Maya was strongest. People were so fallen there, and hippies were the most fallen of all of them. They were worse than any tens of Manigriva and Nalkuvera put together. So, and he delivered all of them. And his, just like Krishna was tied to the mortar, grinding mortar, Prabhupada's weapons were basically, on one side he had tied Bhagavad Gita, on the other side Bhagavatam, and on his chest he was wearing his chanting beads. And with those, he was so empowered by Krishna that he was able to conquer the entire West and started this whole big, huge Hare Krishna movement. And within a few years, established 108 temples. So he's basically considered a Shaktavesh avatar of Krishna, because he was so empowered. He had so much mercy from Krishna. So he was able to spread Krishna consciousness in those parts of the world where you cannot even imagine that people can ever become Krishna conscious. So countries like China, for example, they eat anything, whatever, without discretion, without any consideration. And there we have now about 24,000 plus devotees who are chanting Krishna's name. These are all Chinese people, and they are so immersed in lecture, like they listen so carefully. Prabhu was saying that they can tell you everything verbatim that they have heard during the lecture. They listen so carefully. And then places, communist countries like Russia, it's hard to imagine that there are thousands of devotees now, so many temples there. And this is all because Krishna was, because Prabhupada was so empowered because of Krishna. And he said that Prabhupada predicted at that time that China will be the last country where Gauranga's mercy will reach, but they will be the first to be delivered when the time comes, because they are so strong in hearing. And that was one of the Prabhupada's qualities too. When he used to listen to his master's lectures, he was very attentive in hearing. Actually, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, when he was first introduced to Prabhupada, he said, "Oh, I know you like to hear," because he had seen him attentively hearing his lectures all the time. And Prabhupada, even when he was when he was in America, he would keep listening to his teacher's lectures all the time. And that's why he was able to speak and influence so many people, because his own hearing, his own Shravan was so powerful. So those were some of the points they were talking about. And then Prabhu was saying that Prabhupada spread Krishna's message so far and wide. He glorified Krishna so much that Krishna is also glorifying Prabhupada. So actually, the maximum number of biographies that have ever been written about one single person in the entire world is Prabhupada. And this can actually be sent to Guinness Book of World Records, because he has the maximum number of biographies written. And he's now being considered for Nobel Peace Prize. So hopefully in near future that should happen. And then should I keep going, Prabhuji? Time is up for the class.
Mataji, please keep going.
So then I'll just mention some pastimes that happen, like some of the conversations he had with different people. So one time somebody asked Prabhupada, why do you recommend to chant 16 rounds? Where does it say in Bhagavad Gita that we should chant 16 rounds? Why should we chant so much? So Prabhupada said, actually Krishna has said in Bhagavad Gita, Satatam Kirtyanto Mam. I'm only telling you to chant 16 rounds, but Krishna wants you to do the kirtan the entire day. He wants you to chant the whole day, but at least start doing 16 rounds. So that was a very nice answer by him. And then there was a pastime where one of the Mayavadi philosophers came to argue with Prabhupada. He brought Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita as it is with him, and he was pointing all the faults in it. He was arguing with Prabhupada and his devotees. Why have you written this? How come you translated this? So Prabhupada did not argue back with him. He said, okay, tell me everything. Tell me what is wrong and tell me everything. So for an hour, he kept listening to that Mayavadi just keep on talking on and on, various verses in Bhagavad Gita, various versions of how this should be interpreted and how Prabhupada is wrong and all this. And then after 1 hour, he left. So devotees were very surprised that Prabhupada did not say anything to him. So they asked Prabhupada, how come you didn't say anything back to him? He was saying all these things against you. He was finding so many faults. So Prabhupada said, I was just enjoying the free 1 hour Krishna Katha that this guy did. And we were just allowing him to do Krishna Katha, and maybe he will get some Krishna's mercy now. So I like that pastime. And then, let me see, there a couple more things.
So Mataji, how is that Krishna Katha?
Because he was just going on and on about Krishna and how he interprets Krishna.
So he was taking names of Krishna that many times?
Yes, he just kept taking names of Krishna and just in his own way he was glorifying, but he was finding faults with Prabhupada, Prabhupada's version, but Prabhupada just patiently listened and just kept on letting him talk.
Yes. Thank you.
And then one time somebody asked Prabhupada, so all the swamis that come from India, they have mystical powers and they do some kind of magic. Well, can you show me some kind of magic? So so in his congregation there were many devotees sitting, and most of them were hippies. So he asked one of those devotees to stand and recite some verses from Bhagavad Gita, and he recited very proficiently. So Prabhupada turned to this person and said, this is my magic. I don't know any other magic, but this is my magic.
Into Krishna.
And Prabhupada said, I have transformed hippies into happies.
Yes. Yes. And then Amoglila Prabhu was also mentioning how, even though this is his disappearance day, but actually Prabhupada is not really disappeared. He said himself that I will continue to live through my books. So as long as we are engaged in reading his messages through his books, he will always be there. So he's not really disappeared. And actually he related many pastimes that are quite funny ones, where Prabhupada actually came and saved some people in different situations. So there are some devotees, we are like people like me who are not very shuddh in their chanting and more offensive, if anything. So when we are in a difficult situation, if we chant Hare Krishna mantra, nothing may happen. But he described 2 or 3 situations where they recited Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, nothing happened. But then they chanted Prabhupada's Pranam Mantra, and they immediately received help. So they said, if Prabhupada is always listening, and he will come help if even if you cannot reach to Krishna. And they described actually a few, you can listen to the lecture or I can tell tomorrow, but some funny anecdotes where Prabhupada actually came and saved these devotees from troublesome situations. There are and then they said, how in the Pranam Mantra, it said Paschatya Desh Tarne. So Paschatya basically means any, that he basically delivered people from this, from a lot of Western values. Even like in India nowadays, there is, Western people are trying to take up Western values, or get become more like Western civilization. And so whereas Prabhupada came to the West and he taught them the Vedic values. He got them to get rid of smoking, alcohol, drugs, and instead he taught them to make gulab jamuns, and taught them to drape saris around them. So he brought so much culture to these people that they uh, lost the taste of all these bad habits that they were indulged in. All the nonsense that they were doing before, they completely lost the taste of that, and Prabhupada gave them such high taste, um, and with so much patience, and he himself endured so much suffering while delivering people from these Western mentality, Western values. Prabhuji, I'll stop here.
Next bhag, kal remaining part you will share tomorrow.
Sure, Prabhuji. It's a very long. I mean, they were different devotees. They were going on for about 5 hours or so.
Very
So
nice, very nice.
I only heard a couple of devotees so far.
Yeah, so devotees can keep adding to the points they want to share tomorrow, and then we'll keep going. If not tomorrow, day after tomorrow, like that, we'll keep having this till all the devotees have shared their offering. Glorification of Srila Prabhupada is very, very important. Each one of us should do that if we want to advance in our Krishna consciousness, because Krishna is more pleased when we glorify his devotees. And a devotee like Srila Prabhupada, we cannot really imagine in which lifetime we will have such an opportunity to understand and glorify such a devotee. After so many millions of lifetimes later, we've got this human body, and even in this human body, we have got association of devotees, and that too come in touch with Srila Prabhupada's book. So very, very, and Prabhupada's followers. So very, very rare opportunity. So we will continue this discussion. We'll end it here, and then once we are done, if devotees want, I have some Kahoot quiz for everybody. So maybe after a couple of days, if we are done with all the offerings, we'll do that. Okay, anybody has any last question, comments, or any points? Otherwise, we'll end it. Okay.